we had a conversation. He legitimately invited both of us to go to like
Jalisco, I think.
yeah, to go to like his house in Jalisco that he built or whatever, like some ranch.
Alrighty. So
Can I ask what that is?
this is my.
Oh shit!
This is the one that we use on the field.
Yeah. Why do you get a fuzzy one?
Fluffy.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a windsock. So if we're outside, it's less.
Oh yeah, it doesn't sound. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. For the most part. I know. I'm cool. I'm cool and out there on the ground floor. So stupid. I'm gonna do a little bit of a clap sync just so we can get all the audios synced up. What the fuck were you guys talking about before?
Are we on camera now?
Well, it's. Oh yeah, I probably should. We're gonna do like an organic cold open.
Oh, okay.
It's more relatable because we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, we're talking about turnout for AFSCME actions and the way that the UC is pretty much trying to repress like student speech in the sense that like like on Monday, like October 7th, like the action that happened, and like even on Tuesday, the UAW grad students that had like the fire the admin rally.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, they also got like didn't get like nobody got arrested, but they got like a stern talking to from the police.
Oh.
Being like you can't do this or whatever. Like they gave them a warning technically. So it's interesting because I think like the AFSCME vote, like strike vote, was just authorized like yesterday. And that's coming very soon. So I think a lot of student activism is kind of going to go under the union because it's kind of the only way at this point, in the sense that it's a lot harder to get the like time, place, and manner permits or like whatever, to do like I guess public like even just political education or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I heard some people being worried about being like, is the UC going to sick the cops on workers?
Mm-hmm.
I personally was like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think they're that stupid. And yeah, I think they're just trying to intimidate students. But.
Fucked up. Well, with that open, that little news drop. Oh shit! I just realized. Oh my god. Okay, for realsies. Sorry, we had a little bit of audio troubles. But hi, slugs. This is episode 3 of the podcast. Very excited for the guests that we have today, just because the organization that they're with is so interconnected to all of like the lives of students here, and they got some fun stuff to speak about. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves real quick?
For sure. I can go ahead. Mm-hmm. My name is Alex Santiago. I'm a second year on campus, and I'm one of the student organizing interns with AFSCME 3299, the union that represents all service workers on campus and across the UC. Yeah, I'm excited to talk with y'all today.
All right.
Yeah. I'm Sebastian and Alex. I'm also a student organizing intern with AFSCME 3299.
Real quick, I just say I love the little microphone situation you got figured out.
This is actually very stable. Like low-key, like this is actually. I feel like if I was trying to hold it around it would feel weirder. But
but that feels more natural to you.
Strangely enough, it actually kind of does.
It's an extension of the self.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're in Kresge, so it feels like Black Mirror here already. So I figured I might as well just go futuristic a little bit. But yeah, I'm very excited to be here today. We took writing 2 together. So
yes, we do know each other a little bit. So it's kind of a reunion, a meeting of the minds, as it were. Yeah. Also, our fourth guest, you possibly. Just another reminder to slugs that if you see us out on campus shooting, always welcome to come in, join the conversation, end up on a video somewhere that gets some attention. If that's what you're looking for. But just to get right into it, you were just talking about it. We're going to start with our segment, Slug Inns, where we have the student body, specifically the guests, highlight a location that they view as important to them or the student body as a whole. Yours was you wanted to bring up Kresge.
Well, let me backtrack. I like the environment here. I think it's cool because it feels like it's its own thing because it's like so like kind of in the woods, It's cool. I mean, I've had a couple of friends that lived out here in the apartments before they were demolished for having mold in them. But either way, So I don't know. I feel like all of campus is cool to me.
A little moldy, but
I feel like I don't know. I feel like I couldn't pick just one location because I think all of it just feels kind of surreal either way. So.
But there are like, I don't know, from the conversation we had prior to filming, there are like a lot of new issues when it comes to what's going on with these buildings, just in terms of just how broken they are. Just to get a little behind the scenes, a lot of the buildings' outlets don't like, they have like really fucked up placement, or they just don't work, and that's really bad for one of the newer like established structures that we're paying so much fucking money for to see built. But you want to get into that at all? I heard you talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like UC Santa Cruz just kind of feels like a politician, a businessman, and like a liberal under a trench coat. You know, like posing as a university kind of thing.
Together.
Yeah, it's very like it's fucking crazy. I mean, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Go for it.
It's, I don't know. I feel like, especially in Kresge, which has like, you know, the new buildings and stuff, like I thought it was crazy because I was like, well, oh, you know, the older colleges have issues because they're very old, right? Like they have, you know, like the mold or the asbestos or the literally everything else that is wrong with everything. And so, you know, coming here to Kresge and then hearing about the fact that these like brand new buildings are already having problems, I was just like, we're never getting out of this shit. So, like university wise. So, yeah.
Any thoughts on that? It's just.
I mean, yeah, we're pretty structurally behind. I would say it's pretty pathetic that like Oaks folks still don't have a generator, which is, I mean, because we are flood impacted a lot of the time, and so those are the dorms that are also just like positionally based, usually more impacted by floods. And so the fact that they just don't have like such a basic resource like a generator to restart their electricity is kind of crazy. And like, yeah, I live in Stevenson last year and this year, and so the mold is definitely a really, I don't know, like the Stevenson Student Council had a meeting with our CRE where we were like, hey, the mold is a real issue here. Students have had to move
like Victorian era levels of problem to still have.
No,
the mold has struck us again.
The plague is coming.
The plague, for real.
But like seriously, it's like taking over my friend's room sometimes.
That's
like
fucked up.
Like it's consumed their shit. There was a couple years ago, students had to move out of house one because the black mold got so intense and they got like seriously sick.
Oh shit.
But yeah, we just had a meeting with the CRE and he like gaslit us about, he's like, the alleged mold issue we are speaking about, and it's like, dude, come on now.
Take a ginger immunity shot. Like
he told us to put up humidifiers, which was just like the craziest thing ever. Or like dehumidifiers. Sorry, dehumidifiers.
Bro was straight up like die.
He's like made it worse.
But there was a lot of news coming out of this week. It almost felt a lot like a big activist drive, which we're going to get into later. But for now, the biggest thing, and mostly part of the reason why I wanted to have you on as guest, is the AFSCME rally just happened. And I think first I just want to get into what is AFSCME, just as somebody who is very aware of the full-time workers here. But maybe for people like freshmen or people who just don't know about it, what's going on with AFSCME? What is that? Either of you can comment. Yeah.
So AFSCME 3299 is the union that represents all of the service workers across the UCs. So the people who are keeping our campus running are custodians, or bus drivers, or full-timers in the dining hall and such. And they also represent medical staff across the UC hospitals. And yeah, I think it's something around 36,000 workers.
Yeah, 35-ish.
35,000 workers that we represent across the UCs. And so we're the ones that are, you know, fighting for their benefits, fighting for their health care, this year their housing particularly. And yeah, for pay raises and such.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Little fun fact. Well, not a fun fact, but just like, because I
feel about to be a not very fun fact.
No, it's actually kind of innocent. It's not. It's not so dark, but it's just like I feel like I've become numb to saying AFSCME all the time, and then sometimes people are like, "The fuck is that?" It's the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees.
Gotcha.
As a like the meaning of like what the you know what the whatever it stands for.
The acronym.
Yeah, the acronyms.
Right? Yeah.
I was gonna try to say that, but I was like, I'm not fully sure if that's the word.
If
But
you wanted to do a full send on acronym.
yeah. But that's what it means though. But yeah. So pretty much like because the UC is essentially its own government, like which is kind of just a wing of the state government. You know, just the American government. They have their own sort of like they essentially exist outside of California labor laws. They have like their own. They pretty much like Ronald Reagan was like, you can do whatever, and so it's essentially like
Fucking Ronald Reagan.
it always goes back to Reagan. Look up the California Master Plan for Higher Education of 1960. That's why we're here today. But what do you call it?
Wait, real quick. Well, say what you're gonna say, but if you want to get into that at all, we have the time. So.
Oh, okay. I would love to get into that. Actually, I don't even know what I was gonna say, but I would get into that. In 1960, the California Master Plan for Higher Education was the thing that was put into law that essentially designated the UC as like the elite university of California, being like that's what set the kind of like the like I guess elitism of like the UC gets the top students of like the whole state. The California state universities get like the ones right below that. Community colleges kind of get everyone or whatever. And so it set that. A couple of other things were also set, like the when people look at UC Santa Cruz and they talk about like the buses, for example, and they're like, how the fuck is there no funding? Like, like we pay so much tuition, genuinely, where the fuck does that money go? Part of the reason why the school is collapsing in on itself is because things are funded by auxiliary units. For example, every single fee, like we get a fee for every single thing. Like, for example, like library, the gym, the buses, like transportation, like we get separate fees for all of that. And because of those things are kind of separate from tuition, and it's like the actual just tuition, it makes it so it's always an issue of the budget. Like no matter what you're trying to advocate for, like the buses, why do the buildings not work? Anything. The answer kind of always tends to go back to that, being like, oh well, it's the budget. But that goes back to
that feels very American government to be like, but the spending, we need to think about the budget before we spend way too much money on something that is not beneficial to the students.
I mean, like for example, with the buses, like I honestly like unless the big UC or the state government just like injects money for that, like at least with the current budget, like even if because they've been like ticket farming people for so long, like just like harassing students and giving tickets like that are super expensive, just because that's also a way that they make money besides the super small fees and a couple of grants. But even that way, like it's kind of I think that like as a system, like the bus system currently right now, like I think unless there's like outside like investment or like the UC is like, okay, this is fucked up, we need to do something, I really don't think it's gonna get better. Like I
feel like anything functional that we have on our campus is typically ran through private donors, actually. Like a lot of like cool internship programs completely funded through private donors, not through the UC.
Where's all that UC money going? The budget.
The chancellors.
Oh.
It'll trickle down though, don't worry.
Oh, good, good. Okay, I was concerned there for a minute. But thank God Cynthia Reeves' inflated fucking paycheck will somehow get to us instead of the mansion.
No, it's for us humble workers at the end of the day.
Very real. Okay, so that's what AFSCME is. What was kind of the intention of the rally for people who weren't there?
The intention of the rally was essentially AFSCME is kind of like is a statewide thing. It's in the whole UC system, so it's like when they right now they're under a contract which ends on October 31st, like this month. And so this rally was kind of like building up the momentum before the contract ends because, again, the UC is not only stingy with students, they're very stingy with the workers too. So they've been bargaining for months. They're currently at an impasse, which means that the UC they haven't come to an agreement because the UC is just not offering anything. So it's important just because actually just yesterday, the day of the rally, they authorized a strike vote. It will be happening later this month. Because once the contract is out, any union can actually strike legally as a means of bargaining, like coming to an actual agreement with their employer. So if and when that happens, which is very likely, the entire UC system will be disrupted, because it's like, the UC hospitals, every single UC campus, and because it's the service workers union, it'll be a very big sort of, event, essentially. It'll be a big fight. And so, I think a lot of it is kind of like getting students to support, because supporting AFSCME is kind of like a way in which students can actually make it so the money trickles down to them, right? Because again, it doesn't, and the UC hasn't really allowed that before without like requiring create like a fight or like a sacrifice or like striking to actually get there.
Some type of general resistance. I mean, I'm sure the record is there in terms of just how often they immediately go to a police response in terms of starting a rally and then immediately being like, you can't be here. But yeah, one of the important things that I think needs to be talked about in terms of AFSCME is not just like the logistical part of it in terms of why these types why these actions need to be happening, but who they're occurring for. Getting to the human element, these are people that we see on campus every day. They are doing. I was saying it earlier, but they are probably some of the hardest working people on this campus. If you've had any on-campus job, you know for a fact that they're going to put in the world's hardest work you've ever seen and then go to their second job and still do the same output. And that's crazy for somebody who melted at the idea of doing a 4-hour shift at the dining hall. But I don't know. Is there anyone in particular in terms of AFSCME, like the human element, you'd want to, like any people that stick out to you in terms of people you'd want to talk about?
Like, I mean, without doxing anyone, like I think I don't know. I mean, I feel like something that I realized very fast after coming to Santa Cruz for the first time. Like I lived in Cabo my freshman year, and so like as a Mexican person, like I'm from Tijuana, and so like coming from like over there and like South San Diego to Cabo College my freshman year, I felt like I was a get out dude. Like it's like it was like I felt like it was segregated. Like I would go to the dining hall and I'm like, I'm the only person that doesn't have blue eyes and like blonde hair right now. This is fucked up. And so like it was weird, right? Like I hung out most of my time like in other colleges. Like I made more friends in like College 9 and stuff. So it felt weird. But I remember like my the custodial shout out her, she knows who she is, but I'm not gonna say it. Just out of respect. 100%. But either way, she was very nice. I would talk to her because I was like, well, you speak Spanish, I speak Spanish, and like I was certainly surrounded by like American people, so I was like, it felt kind of like comfortable. It was like we would just like talk. Like she would come clean the bathrooms and stuff. Like we just like would talk a little bit, and she was like, oh yeah, like my daughter is like out there in Chula Vista, like where I went to like middle and high school and stuff. And it was very nice. Like I remember she would like if she saw me in the morning, she would tell me like, oh, like have you showered yet? Like do you need to shower? Because she was like, I was about to like close the bathroom and clean, but if you're gonna shower, I can go like do another one and then come back. And I was like, it was actually
it's always little stuff like that.
Little stuff like that, yeah. That it's like I can't stress it enough for all the UC bootlickers. The service workers care. No, yeah, there's way too many of them. But the service workers care about the actual students so much more than any admin person like ever has or will probably. And they are, if anything, I feel like they look at students kind of like their own family. I feel like a lot of them being like immigrants or like just like Latin American or Mexican, like I feel like they just generally respect young people in the sense that they kind of like have care for them. And especially, I mean, providing service, like cleaning bathrooms, like interacting, like dining hall stuff. It's something that's very kind of, it's a really big part of the community. Like I know a lot of people that have great relationships with their custodians, with their local, like, their dining coworkers or things like that, where, again, it's very personal and it's very like, it's very much like a very affectionate relationship.
Ground network community type of deal.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's one of those things where a lot of times people can see AFSCME, but not necessarily connect that to being like, oh, the person that takes care of me and keeps my bathroom clean is also fighting for a contract right now,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
100%. Alex, any stories, any example, any comment?
I mean, yeah, I would just have to expand on yours. Like, I don't know, my friends who did work in the dining hall, it was always mijo, mija, and like literally like son or daughter, right? That's what it translates to. And so, yeah, I think your point in that the service workers have not only a much deeper connection, but also sincerely a lot more empathy for the students that are on this campus. It's just pretty astounding.
Incredibly familial, which is, especially for, like you were saying, a lot of people who, are coming from miles away from where they live. Just having that ground root connection to people is really important.
Yeah, it's honestly, yeah, I agree. It's like it's really astounding because like last time we were at the TAPS buildings, kind of like by Barn G, like the bottom area. We were going to, I think we are coming from printing flyers, right? Like at the Women's Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we ran into like I think it was like the shift change, so a lot of the custodial staff was out there. I worked with AFSCME last year as well as a student organizing intern, and so a lot of them recognized me, and they're like, "Hey, Sebastian!" Like they just started like calling, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And I like turned around because I mean I didn't want to just like interrupt them if they were going to work, and we were just like there and we were talking for a bit, and one of them also shout out because I've known him since freshman year, even before I worked with the union. We were talking and like they're genuinely the most like warm, welcoming people ever. Like we had a conversation. He legitimately invited both of us to go to like
Jalisco, I think.
yeah, to go to like his house in Jalisco that he built or whatever, like some ranch. And he was like, yeah, even if I'm not there, like let me know, like I'll tell them to like open it for you and you can stay there. And I was like,
Damn.
I was like, damn, and it's because it's like it's things like that I'm like, we have like insanely rich people on campus, like in the sense that like any admin person gets like a crazy like deal. And those are the most stingy people I know. They're the most like
They're not gonna give you shit.
yeah, they're the most like individualistic people ever. And so I'm like, the fact that the workers who are like actually like physically, economically, and like personally exploited by the UC are the ones that are also the most giving is kind of crazy. And I think a lot of students have like a bad habit of kind of just normalizing that, just kind of like looking right through them and just kind of being like, oh, like I got my, like breakfast in the morning and I'm just gonna walk away, type thing where it's like, they see them, but they don't see them, if that makes sense.
Well, we have a clip that we're going to cut to that feels kind of in the ballpark of what we were just talking about. Yeah, we'll be right back. You're a member of AFSCME. For students who aren't aware of what AFSCME is, who are you and what are you trying to get from the university?
Okay, I'm Janet Mucino. I work as a senior custodian on UC Santa Cruz for 23 years. Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, a lot of years of service. I'm be part of AFSCME since I'm started, like 23 years. And basically we are here to ask for fair contract. What we deserve. We asking for a fair housing. We asking for good salaries, but mostly we demand is the same assistant with the top executives have. They already receive a lot, thousand of a year. But I hope the community understand. It's not we want to be millionaires in a year. No, we want some enough to survive. Everybody deserves to live healthy and fair, like nice, like not 3 jobs.
And this is crazy, look. I have like 3 dots.
Okay.
I'm just gonna hold it now.
Anyways, we're back from the clip. But if you want to get it back into it, who is Janet? Because I believe that they're relatively close to you in terms of relation to the union.
Well, Janet is a custodial member. She used to work in dining, but she's also a part of the bargaining team. So, for example, I mean, when they're negotiating, Janet is one of the people that is in the room. The thing with AFSCME also is that they are a rank and file union in the sense that there are staff people that work for like the union itself, who are not UC workers. But for example, like the president, the vice president, the treasurer, they all are actually UC employees also. But and so. For example, there's like the executive board statewide, which is also made up of just like actual members. And the bargaining team is also made up of actual workers. So it's not like, there's no like external people who come in and negotiate for them. Like there are organizers that are part of the statewide staff. But in terms of like negotiating and things like that, it's all done by actual members. For example, the current vice president, Catherine Leibarger, she has been like a senior gardener at like UC Berkeley for like a long time. And she's a vice president for AFSCME, right? So
It's kind of rad.
yeah.
Just at the end of the day, these are the people who are like we said earlier, just working alongside everyone else is here.
Yeah. Only thing is just I would like to like stress what you just said right now, that like most workers have to work another job or like a side hustle or like do something else besides just working at the UC. And so yeah, I mean, even since last year, like a lot of workers would say it, like themselves, they're like $25 is not enough at this point. You know, like inflation is moving up so bad. Like this region is so expensive in general that 25 is kind of like bare minimum for like survival, right? So it's one of those things where you know, like having the opportunity to work here, like I just think in general there's no reason why the workers of like an elite institution like the UC should have to like be so exploited. You know, I think like if anything we should be talking about, you know, the UC worker being dignified. We should be like, you should be like, this should be a coveted job, right? Like even if you're like no matter what role, if it really is an elite institution, which I'm not defending elitism, at the very least pay the people that make the shit work a living wage, right? It's not even
be competitive.
Yeah.
In terms of what's being provided.
Yeah, no, it's very hard to get loop bus drivers because the metro in Santa Cruz is offering way higher wages.
Oh, is that a part of why there's so little of them nowadays?
It's a thing. It's a thing. There's very high turnover in that department. So
something to look into in a future episode. But yeah, anything else, Alex? You want final comment, but just in general to say anything about AFSCME?
Yeah, I think Sebastian covered all the points.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. So to get into the next story, another one of the, and I think this kind of gets to the general kind of theme of the episode, is that this week in terms of news was very activist heavy. Recently, the PayusmoreUCSC rally also occurred. That was a really big thing in terms of you know, job security and stability and all that. But one of the things I found really interesting is just the general difficulties in terms of free speech on campus, especially in regards of people who aren't like the admin or security or whatever. One of the major things was there was I believe a graduate student who they wanted to speak on their experience as a worker and also stuff on Palestine. And they were denied that because, or not only denied, their worker status was threatened, and their status as a student in terms of both education and housing was threatened just for wanting to speak on the like crimes of the admin. So I don't know. I don't really have any questions, but like just general thoughts on because I know the process for AFSCME. Like you guys, from what I remember, you guys got a permit and all that, but you know the UC might not always approve of free speech in the free speech area because it goes against what's the established status quo. So any thoughts on that?
I mean, like, they certainly have found their way to shut down free speech in various manners. And, like, yeah, it is very ironic that this is happening in the only free speech zone of our campus. But, for example, like, the policy switch for against amplified noise, which is obviously just a central aspect of any rally, protest.
It's going to be loud.
It's going to be loud, right? And so, like, that's a very insidious way, I guess, that the UC has attacked free speech, among many other aspects.
Yeah. One of the students got arrested because they were using a megaphone, if I heard, and that was a story that didn't really get anywhere, but it feels like a major attack on just the ability of a person to speak in a public area.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure if it was a bullhorn or a megaphone. I don't even know what the fuck a bullhorn is. I'm not gonna lie, but it's
kind of thing.
Okay.
Either way,
it was one of the two. But either way, it's like
you shouldn't be getting arrested for that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's getting fascist real quick, and so it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, like last year, for example, we had some people were kicked out of like the quarry for trying to table without having a permit, and we were like, isn't this the only free speech zone technically in the whole campus, right? So it's like, that's crazy, and then now we're seeing a student get publicly arrested, violently arrested, by force in the only free speech zone on campus. So it's like, I think a lot of it is very much fear mongering. I think also the UC is definitely, even though they like to act stupid or like they don't know, they definitely know that the AFSCME contract is coming. They know that. I mean, especially after last year, at least here in UC Santa Cruz, like they were scared. I think they saw and they felt the energy, and they felt like, everybody was kind of just like, this is gonna sound real cringy, but waking up a little bit, and yeah, and the woke left was at it, and so like, and so yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's really scary, in the sense that they're trying to just intimidate people, but also, I think that's exactly why they definitely hate it when people support the union, because a union has more protections, right? Like AFSCME has lawyers, they have attorneys, they have the legal right to do a lot of what they do. So, for example, at the rally yesterday, I was yelling on a megaphone, but nothing happened to me, and it was only like, it was like literally like super close to where the arrest happened on Monday, right? So, it's one of those things where I think a very important thing to kind of think about is the fact that, for example, with activities like that, like the organizer had to go to the Bay Tree bookstore and get a permit, but because she is the union organizer, they couldn't just be like, no. So like, there's a little bit more protections in that sense, and especially coming like in the near future, like, the contract's gonna end. The strike vote is happening like right. It's from the 28th to the 30th. 31st, the contract ends. Then after that, for example, should there be a strike, and for example, like there's a picket line at the base of campus, or like whatever, the workers are out there like marching and striking, that is a protected space in that sense, right? Where, and again, like they can try to intimidate. Yeah, they can have cops watching it, which
They're gonna have the security guards in the weird security shirts.
Yeah,
so they can't be there.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna have them out there, but again, they really can't mess with that. And especially in terms of that, I think like a big thing for students to think about is that, that is kind of one avenue that's more protected, where students can at least publicly, like kind of, outspokenly, build that, kind of like put pressure on the university, especially because, when workers go on strike, but it's only the workers, obviously it's still a huge disruption. Like it hurts the UC's money, they hate it. But I mean, there's nothing scarier to them than seeing students like give a shit, like to seeing students out there on the picket line, like supporting, interacting, being in solidarity. I mean, I think it's going to be very big, especially because everybody has something with the UC at this point. And I knew it was fucked up when I started realizing that even the rich people that I knew here, I also had issues, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's like, I mean, for a UC, for an institution that was designed to be elitist and like the most expensive and the most premier and like everything, I've always said this. It's fucked up when white people are upset, and it's true. It's so true. Like it's peak neoliberalism, like post neoliberalism. It's kind of like collapsing in on itself. So I don't know. Whatever happens is going to be big, but I think it should be thought of that. Unions are kind of more protected in that sense, especially after.
Kind of just on the general topic of unions and university support, we're going to cut to another clip, and we'll be right back and talk about that.
Like, everywhere has a TA shortage, and math has it really bad.
Is it just because there's just the sheer amount of STEM students who require math TAs?
I mean, yeah, but also, like, not even just STEM majors. Like, you have to think about, like, general education requirements.
Oh, so, true. Everyone kind of goes through you at least once. They need to go through you.
I think the biggest class that I've TA'd for had, like, probably over 200 people, and I think there were like 3 or 4 TAs.
Oh, if I'm getting my math right.
About 60 to 80 students per TA.
That's the kind of math help that those students probably needed that they weren't able to properly receive because there were too little of you.
It's very unpleasant to be like an educator and just have to deal with the fact that, yeah, I'm not going to be able to help everyone. There's too many of you. And that sucks.
And we're back. a little unrelated, but that clip kind of speaks to something in terms of the university is just in general overwhelmed due to just it, the money problems we were getting into earlier. Do you see kind of any of that fitting into the struggles of AFSCME or just workers in general?
I mean, if we're talking about being short-staffed, I'm still in the dorm, so I was going into Stevenson dining hall the other night, and the place was like, it was so understaffed. It was really dirty, and like these workers can't keep up to the capacity of students that they're being asked to serve, right? Simply because the UC is like, I don't know, making it difficult to get their shifts or simply underpaying them, like I said. And I think it kind of just goes to the bottom line in that the UC, especially UCSC, because we are in a budget deficit, they're making cuts. And that means at the end of the day, it's not going to impact them because Cynthia LaRive still got her raise. It's going to impact students and it's going to impact workers. And so if that means making a short staff list, they have no issue in doing that, even if it means poorer quality of service for students and workers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Being a fourth year psychology major, I feel like I could have learned as much, if not even more, like on YouTube or something. Like I'm not gonna no, straight up. Like I feel like I haven't learned anything, and I have passed all my classes. Like I get good grades, but it's just so unserious, And I think maybe psychology is just not the strongest. I also don't like research, so maybe that's a part of it. The fact that for me, it's just I guess more social psychology. But I'm like, for how much we pay, the amount of time that I spend on Canvas or things like that, where it's just kind of it feels very at times I forget that I'm here for school. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm it's just it's so bad. The other day I was at Cal State Monterey, CSUMB. I was at a library. Shout out, yeah. I was at shout out the others. I was at a library. They have every Thursday a golden retriever, and somebody's holding him, and and you can just go play with him. You can just go pet him. He's like a therapy dog.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, dude. They would never do that shit here. They would never It's kind of fucked up.
I don't mean to call you out on air, but actually we had one dog day last year. So checkmate, liberal. We had one dog day.
Yeah. No, honestly, yeah.
No, I get it in terms of because that feels like that would be a service, right?
Yeah.
In terms of what's being provided. So
instead we just got Cynthia being talk to cops.
It's so crazy. Oh, what were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say, also that goes into the amount of autonomy we have over our funds. The reason you're gonna see better services typically at the CSUs and the CCUs is because you have more students and workers actually involved and intertwine in what the funds go to. At the UC, our SUA is literally co-opted by the UC. Because of our status as a public trust, we don't have a lot of autonomy, if any autonomy, over our own student fees. And that's why you see, it being directed to things that aren't for students, I suppose.
Bomb research.
Yeah, no. I found something out interesting yesterday that they're trying to dig into, student governments on campus. We have one for each college. They get their own fees. And so they have usually around $10,000, $20,000. And admin is trying to take into those student fees because they realize that no one's paying attention, and they're just are even the student fees that are specifically allocated to be for student activities and services, which are usually student run anyway and uncompensated oftentimes, are also being stolen to go back to admin.
I know that legally doesn't count as fraud, but it feels like fraud. Like the most legal version of fraud that you can get to without. It's so fucked up.
The UC is the biggest racketeering organization ever. Maybe not ever, but either way, it's just it's fucking crazy.
There's some mob shit going on on campus.
Oh yeah. That's
fully protected.
Yeah.
By privatization.
Yeah, I feel it's pretty sad because I feel I think at the UC, the UC has resources. That's actually not even an entirely true statement. They do, but it's very gatekept or whatever.
Yeah.
But either way, I just think it's kind of students really have no agency when it comes to like, for example, spaces like student government. And I don't even think it's something that isn't necessarily the fault of the people in there at any given time.
Yeah.
It is literally just the institution. You know, it's like it's like, yes, you can propose something, you can maybe get a meeting with like a higher up or whatever, like, or like
Chancellor or
yeah,
something.
yeah, like maybe you can get that, but it's like when they have like the trips where people go to like where the politics kids go to like
SAC.
DC, yeah, like SAC, DC and stuff. It's like it's like a visit Saturday. Like you're sitting on the lap of a politician, being like, and then that's it, you know. And eventually the goal is that you'll become just like him, and you'll be fucking people over, right? So it's very crazy because I feel like there's very limited avenues, if at all, for students to actually change the material conditions on campus, even within like their reach. You know, like like I said earlier, like fascism is coming. Like it's already here, low key. It's not even coming. It's in the kitchen.
It's go time.
Yeah, it's been here, but like for example, like the ERCs, like the ethnic resource centers, we're told. I heard this through the grapevine. They cannot speak about U.S. imperialism whatsoever.
Oh,
Yes, like
that feels very incorporated into all of that.
yes, yeah, no, exactly, yeah. And so it's like, imagine like I heard about how they were trying to like I don't even know who, somebody in the ERC, like a space in the ERC or organization in the ERC was trying to like display like a movie that had like it was about a Filipino woman who was, I think, killed by a U.S. Marine or something like that. And so it wasn't even anything like too crazy. They were just trying to show this movie. They were told they couldn't even have that on the flyer just because it's.
Whoa.
Yes, isn't that crazy?
Just even the hovering around the idea of thinking about the concept.
No, yeah, exactly. So, and then we get emails from Cynthia being like, upholding campus responsibility. Like all it's like with what face can they say that at this point? It's like, well, you can't criticize anything. If you make noise, you're gonna get arrested. You're gonna get mold from living on campus. This is a food desert. It's hella expensive. And now you can't even talk about U.S. imperialism. It's like.
Well, the UC is an extension of U.S. imperialism.
Exactly.
We're the largest landowner in California. We make so many like private investments. We are U.S. imperialism, and so I don't think they want us talking bad about their buddies like that. But I feel you. Every time I see a dean of students email signed off in community, I'm like,
in solidarity.
Fuck you, dude. No, comrade. Comrade Garrett.
No.
So just to wrap everything up in kind of something that fits into what we've been doing all day. In the face of U.S. imperialism, in the face of activist suppression, like, what do you two feel are the methods of acting against that? I think AFSCME is a major component, but just in general, a message for the students in terms of people who want to do that feel like they can't.
Well, before we say anything, I just want to say, because we haven't said it, I forgot. We're speaking as individuals. We're not AFSCME representatives. Like, we're not like, we're student organizing interns. But either way, we don't represent AFSCME's anything. This is just like individual. But either way, I mean, I feel like a big part of, I think the AFSCME strike is a very powerful tool in the sense that it can weaken the fascist state that we're already in the sense that, again, fighting the UC is fighting the government, because it's the same thing. Gavin Newsom is a regent himself, and so. The governor of California is a regent, I think, like by default.
He appoints the regents as well.
The governor appoints the regents.
I know he was one.
I feel like that should be entirely unrelated and separate from each other.
Yeah.
But
No.
continue.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Broke my brain a little bit there.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing for UC students specifically is that, like, everything happening, like, the UC is a really major part of U.S. imperialism in general, and it always has been, just because of the, like, work that happens here, right? Like, for example, somebody once told me, and I quote, this was a STEM, like, CS student or something like that, but it was like, the people that will sell out and go to Raytheon or shit like that, and he literally said, and I quote, well, if somebody's gonna be making the bombs, it might as well be me. And I was like,
Whoa.
yeah, right? Like, yes. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's so
Oh,
not
you're
true.
a bad person.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, you're morally corrupt, you know. But like, but either way, yeah, I feel like that's the biggest notion. I think that like, I think resisting in the UC and like looking for ways to like challenge the UC is kind of the like it's a privilege, but not only is it a privilege, but it's a very core position within like the grand scheme of things, right? So I feel like, for example, when you look at like genocide in Palestine or like Lebanon and just like global like Western terrorism, historically even like a lot of that research, a lot of that production, a lot of those like weapons, a lot of the funding comes from places like the UC, right? Because the government feels like they can just kind of do whatever, because they kind of show you what they want to show you, but and then just do whatever with that money. But yeah, I mean, I think keep looking for ways. I feel like they're going to try to intimidate students, but at the end of the day, like they can't really like
they can't take away the choice to do that at all. In the first place.
Yeah, exactly. But and also, I mean, again, it's like free speech is like a hot topic right now. In the sense that like the very basic things that, for example, in the U.S. you're always told that you have are vanishing super quickly. So I think that's a very much a red flag and point of like concern, I think.
Yeah, finding ways to protect that is one of the first important steps. You feel?
Yeah. I would say also, like kind of bringing this back to the workers, like you were talking about earlier, in the light of the fact that they're being exploited, they're the most compassionate people on this campus for students. And I think that's something, like even if you're talking about the design of our campus, our campus was designed to keep people secluded from each other. That's why we have no center to our campus, right? And I would say talk to people. Like literally, it comes down to like knowing your workers, knowing the people around you. And as Sebastian also said, the UC has fucked over every single student on this campus, even the extremely wealthy ones. Whether it's parking or housing, we have all been impacted by the UC. And so, exercise your free speech. What as they're constricting on it, go out there, be at rallies, talk to people, and understand what the struggle is, because at the end of the day, it is a communal struggle. And as for Palestine, it's going to be communal liberation, because all of our movements are interconnected, And so if you don't, I don't know.
Yeah, no, labor is just as important as the like general outside free speach groups or stuff like that.
Yeah, and like even if we're talking about our STEM friends who have been a little bit disengaged at times, they have a huge voice to say in this, and so it doesn't matter who, just recognize the role you have to play in all of this, I suppose.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up here. Slugs, thanks again for listening in. YouTube onlys, where are you? Pop up in the comments. I love you. Is that too parasocial? I feel like that might be a little. You're breaking the fourth wall a little bit. Okay, yeah. Again, before we wrap up, the little seat over there.
Again,
it could be you.
It could be you. If you see us on campus, don't be afraid to come on by, speak your mind. And with that, we're gonna head out. So yeah, thanks. Bye. Oh yeah. Wave. Give him a wave. Beautiful.